Hi friends, welcome to Code with Sony. In previous video we have covered topics like operators, decision making, loops and function. And today we are going to discuss array, pointers and recursions. We have 3 segments of our video to complete all topics. Before proceeding further, please subscribe to my channel. Let's get started. First segment of our video is all about arrays. We will discuss its declaration, initialization and access array elements. Array is a kind of data structure that can store a fixed size sequential collection of same type. An array is used to store collection of data, but it is often more useful to think of an array as a collection of variables of same type. All arrays consist of contiguous memory locations. The lowest address corresponds to the first element and the highest address to the last element. Declaring an array. To declare an array in C, a programmer specifies the type of elements and the number of elements required by an array. Just like this, int, let's say any array name, anything like array or any variable that you suits to give a name an array. I am taking a, and in square brackets there will be defined the size of an array, that you have put an integer value. Alright, an integer value which specifies the size, and behind the program there will be contiguous memory locations. Like if I am giving my array size 10, alright, then in previous memory locations there are 10 slots or 10 memory spaces allocated for my array, just for my array. This is single dimensional array, and here I am declaring my array. Let's say declaration. Now the other most important step is to initialize an array. Initializing we mean to give value or the provide value to my array, that the contiguous spaces that are allocated to the memory have some specific type of information. I am using double type of data type. In previous video we have a lot of use of integer. Now take an example of double. Let's say double with array. I am declaring the size 5. And now for initializing, here I am initializing my array by putting the curly brackets. In curly brackets I have to put the information that will be stored in my array, the contiguous spaces in memory. The double means the value inside the array will be type of double. It can be float, it can be int, but if you have declare or the double data type, then the values will be double. Let's say 1000.0 comma 2.0 comma 3.4 comma 7.0 comma 50.0 comma and semicolon. Here I am using comma, which is used to separate the elements from one another. That 1000 is for one block, 2 is for second block, 3 is third, and so on. And the indexes, the addresses start from 0. Let's say the 5 is a size, so the index would start, or the address would start from 0 to 4. That is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That is 5. Here I am initializing my array. the number of value inside curly brackets is not greater than the number of elements that we declare for the array between square brackets. This is most important thing. The number of value inside curly bracket is not greater than the number of elements that we have declared for array between square brackets. Now the third important thing is to access an array. An element is accessed by indexing the array name. Alright, we have an array along with some information. Array means we have a block of series or a block of spaces. Alright, and we have to access some of the elements. Some of the elements or some of the let's say things taken out from the array. Alright, let's say any number or anything. Then how we can access our array? How we put out or taken out our desired element from an array? For this I'm using for loop. Int I equals 0. I is less than the size of the array, that is 5, so I actually use the digit 5, I plus plus, and incrementing. Print f %d, which means that the int value. Okay, array that is defined by me, array of I, like it starts from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 is not less than 5. Then the statement will false and the for block, the compiler will get out of the for block. Alright, either than for loop I can write a statement for individual array accessing, like array of 0. If I know the index, yes, I know the index because I know the size, and the index will start from 0 until the size minus 1, because 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4, let 1, 2, 3 and 4. By wasting 5 lines or 4 lines, why shouldn't I take an example of 2 lines of for loop for accessing my array? This is an example for single dimensional array. C also supports multi-dimensional array as well. The simplest form of the multi-dimensional array is two-dimensional array. Two-dimensional array is also called matrix. We have familiar with the word matrix in maths. Matrices or matrix. Okay, let's take an example. We have two curly brackets. Alright, one is for row and other is for column. Let's say we have 5 rows, and for column let's say we have 2. Alright, this is the declaration if I add a semicolon after it, but I am initializing it. Same is a condition, but for declaring a two-dimensional array we use curly brackets, into curly brackets for row column. Then for the next element row column, this represents row and this represents column. Second is 1, 2. Third is 3, 4. This is a simple representation that how you can write your value like this in two-dimensional array. 3, 6 and the last is 4, 8. put and semicolon. Now initialize declare ij. Now for accessing I am using for loop, but not a single for loop. For matrices we have to use nested for loop. One loop is for row and the other loop is for column. I'll tell you how it works. Let's say printf. This is just a representation which I'm going to show that how you can put statements like this and for your desired output. Array that I'm using a for two-dimensional array I'm using two square brackets with %d. That means that an integer value inside it equals d. That the answer would also be integer. /n for the next line. I and j. The current value of I and j will print out, and then the I and j will increment. A of I and j, small j. Semicolon. This I and j is not necessary, so remove for any confusion. Alright. The for loop will run until the inner for loop will exit. Okay? Outer for loop will run until the inner for loop will exit. This is the simplest example of two-dimensional array, which contains rows and columns inside it. Two-dimensional array is also called matrices, and there are many functions and operations performed on matrices, and you can easily perform such operations in programming also. Let's say passing array to function. How I can pass an array to my function? Let's say my function void my function int parameter. It's just a name of an array with square brackets and size 10. This is such a simplest syntax of passing array to function. You can pass to the function a pointer or to an array to specifying the array's name without any index. Okay, this is a parameterized function, arguments or anything that you can call it, but this is the simplest function of passing array to the function. There may be a simplest there may be statements inside and you can call it for your ease. Now the other thing is pointer to an array. You can generate a pointer to the first element of an array by specifying the simplest array name without any index. Let's say double. I am taking an array parents of size 5 and initialize it with similar value or some kind of different value. Now same type double that is used for array I'm using for pointer. To declare a pointer I'm using double data type. Static any variable. I am taking p pointer. Pointer is declared by setting or putting a static in front of it. P equals balance. Like I'm putting, or I'm taking, I'm initializing, or I am equate balance to p. Let's say a for loop. I'm using for loop to access my array. I'm using the print statement to access the memory elements of an array. Static round brackets p plus percentage %t percentage f slash len n comma I comma static round brackets p plus I. This will return the value of the your array. Now if I'm taking the address of the elements, then the statement will have some amendments inside it, but this statement is actually giving me the elements, the values of my array. Now erase p and for addressing, write balance instead of p. Then it will return you the addresses of your memory, that where the elements are stored. Alright, the next segment of video is pointers. Pointers in C are easy and fun to use. Some C language programming tasks are performed more easily with pointers, and other tasks such as dynamic memory allocation cannot perform with pointers. So it becomes necessary to learn pointers to become a perfect C programmer. Let's start learning them in simple and easy steps. As you know, every variable is a memory location, and every memory location has its address defined, which can be accessed using operand. Ampersand, this is the symbol which is normally called as and. In many cases we are using this case in our word, in our text. It denotes an address of the variable, of an array, anything. This is called ampersand. This ampersand operator which denotes an address in a memory. A pointer is a variable whose value is the address of another variable. Now create an int, a character, a variable var equal to 20. Int initialize a pointer, declare a pointer, static p. Now p equals variable and of ampersand of variable. It requires the address of variable into p. This is the simplest example of pointer. Through these such examples, you can perform many other complex problems as well. These are the basics and simplest syntaxes and simplest examples of pointers it will return the address of variable, that in which block it has been placed inside the memory. The last segment is recursion. Recursion is a process of repeating items in a similar way. In programming languages, if a program allows you to call a function inside the same function, then it is called a recursive function of a function. Let's take an example of recursive function. Recursive function, it means that it is repeating inside its own function. Alright? If I am creating a function and call its function into within its function, then it's called a recursive function. A function is called inside its own function. Let's say hash iso stream, sorry, stdio.h. I'm taking an int function, let's say factorial int I. If I is less than equal to 1, then no need to print it, just return the value 1. After if block, return I static factorial I minus 1. This is a recursive function because the function itself called in its own function. Do you know about the factorial? This is a math function. Recursive call. I am saying it recursive call. Int main. Int I equal to 15. Printf factorial of %d is d, so that these two %d will provide you the actual integer value in your console. Alright, and here I am calling the function of factorial. I'm again saying that factorial is a math function. We all have familiar with it. I have called it over it, okay? This is a factorial function. This is the recursive call. A function into its own function. It's a recursive call. Again and again I am saying it is a recursive call. When a function it's called by its own function into its own. Other than factorial, there are many examples of recursive functions that are used frequently in coding. I hope you all segments are clear to you. If you like the video, then share it to your friends. Thanks for watching.